But when you're on the floor, here's the real kicker: when you're on the floor and you got that tool, and you go into ProShop, you know exactly where it is if you need a replacement if it wears out.
Mhm.
So all that's kind of tied together. So our floor matches, like I said, the digital side of the house as well, the digital ecosystem.
Welcome to the Manufacturing Transformed podcast, where we dive deep into the world of manufacturing and uncover the transformational journeys of companies that are powered by ProShop. Get ready to explore the stories behind the machines, the people, and the innovation shaping the future of this industry. Welcome to Manufacturing Transformed. Real shops, real stories.
Well, hello, my friends, and welcome to another episode of Manufacturing Transformed. Today, I had a absolutely delightful conversation with Andrew Crook from Dynamic Fabrication down in Brea, California, Orange County area. I looked it up during the show. Andrew is client number 20 at ProShop here. So September of 2017 is when he signed up with us, only a few months after he bought the business. And this story truly is a transformation story. He was working in the corporate world in aerospace, enjoying his job, traveling, doing all sorts of great stuff, not really looking to be a business owner, but someone from his church mentioned they knew a shop that was for sale. He went and looked. He and his wife decided to go all in on it. They cashed out all their 401ks, all their savings, and really bet it all on buying this business. 10 people at the time, fabrication, machining, some welding. And today it's an entirely different business, bigger facility, triple the staff, much higher revenue, client base that's the who's who of defense contractors and primes. They are using ProShop to an incredible degree. I didn't even realize how deep they were using it. Quite honestly, um, we got into some of the really nitty gritty details about tool management and checklists and advanced planning and the things that are not glamorous, but they are critical to the success of a shop. And the way that Andrew was able to convey those things, the importance of, being more thoughtful about planning, what gauges are you going to need 3 weeks from now? They've done a really great job. And I think it just exemplifies, a company that decides to be process based, put in the work and the fruits that bears later down the road. So it was a great conversation. I really enjoyed it. And so let's go listen to the insights here from Andrew. Andrew, welcome to Manufacturing Transformed. It's good to have you here.
Hey, thanks, Paul. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So you and I have known each other for a long time. I think your story is super cool. It's been fun to watch your business grow over the last several years, and so I thought it might be time to get you on the show and get it on the air, so to speak. So let's start by introducing yourself and Dynamic Fabrication and a little snapshot of kind of what you guys specialize in today, and then we'll go back and talk a little bit more about the history.
All right, yeah. So um, we have three. One of our areas of specializations, sheet metal manufacturing. You know, and a example of what we do in that area, things that we like to do is I'm not sure if you're familiar, but like Boom Supersonic,
Hmm.
they had the XB1. So
Yeah.
we were part of that. We made that the whole aft section here in our facility.
Wow, that's super cool.
The titanium skins, and we cold formed it, and we learned a lot from that project. Mainly how to they had us on. I forgot the name of that application, but it's like a Microsoft project. You have to keep stat.
Mm-hmm. Right, right, right.
So we learned from that project a lot. We reinforced our sheet metal forming expertise and project management. Um,
No kidding.
then weldings or aerospace welding is another area of our one of our technology areas.
Okay.
Um, and so we're on the it's a controlled process. So we're on the ASL for a lot of the primes uh,
Nice.
for that.
And is that NADCAP welding or just other
It is, yeah.
specs that you have?
So yeah, we first got on the ASL for like your Lockheeds and your Northrops and
Mm-hmm.
Raytheons, and then we added NADCAP. We went after NADCAP accreditation, and we thought that was
Congratulations.
a year in, we can do it, and we learned a lot through that process. Uh,
Yeah.
and then, so our next area, we do also CNC machining.
Yep.
We've added a lot. We've invested heavily in our equipment. We went down the route of working with DMG Mori
Nice
on on
machines.
that side of the house. Yeah, just to standardize controllers and
Yep.
applications. Not have so many mixed machines. I mean, I understand why people have mixed machines, but we decided to go down use like the Southwest airline model, right? Just one plane,
Yep.
and we can figure that out. So that was our methodology. Uh,
Okay.
and we do a lot of final assemblies as well. So we'll put a lot of contraptions together, uh, and and that's kind of what we're different than other folks. We do electrical harnessing, like cabinets, the wiring, wire
Wow.
harnesses, variety of they call them our customers call them ITAs, integrated test adapters, and inside's like a colossal bunch of wiring and harness. So we do that as well, and
Wow.
and
That's a lot of vertical integration and depth and breadth to some degree of different processes that many shops don't do.
yeah, we try to keep a lot of those. Yeah, each area has its own specialty, like soldering, and there's a lot of standards that go into being able to do that. Uh, I mean, machining alone is has got its own area, own technology area as well.
Mhm.
So, and yeah, so that's and our this we're from when we started, we used to have like 200 customers, and we decided to take a playbook from Jerry Maguire, and cut our customers down. We culled our list. We decided to do more for less, more,
Mhm.
more add more capability for less customers, and that's worked really well.
Yeah.
And then we also cut out a lot of commercial work and did mainly focus in defense. So,
Okay.
and
Sounds like a smart strategy.
yeah, I mean, it was a strategy, but
Well, looking at your website here, which is dynamicfab.com for the listeners, like it's the creme de la creme of, defense and primes, and it's really, it's the kind of companies that a lot of shops just really would love to get their foot in the door with, and oftentimes have a hard time with it. So you're clearly doing some stuff right to be in there. It's
yeah,
really cool.
yeah,
And you have about 30 folks, is that right?
yeah, we're at 30 now,
Yep, and down in Brea, California.
and yeah, Orange County.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember visiting your shop. It was beautiful after you'd moved. Beautiful, new place, but I those towns and cities all blend in together, and I don't can't keep track of them in Orange County.
Yeah, I know, they sure do. They should, it's a fun area because there's so many shops here,
Yeah. Yeah, although it comes with the maybe the downside of hard to find employees, which I know we'll probably get to. Um, well, let's go back to the origins of you, because you bought this business. It was an existing business. You decided to buy it. Why don't you tell us that story? What were you doing before? Why did you decide to buy a shop? How did you find it? And tell a little bit of that.
Yeah, that's an interesting story. Uh, so yeah, so I a little bit about me. I went to school as an engineer, and I worked for ended up working for Raytheon right out of school
Oh,
as
cool.
a manufacturing planner, and I feel I still do that today. I'm still yeah,
Sure.
still manufacturing planning. So I was there for about 20 years, and
Okay.
um, towards the end of my time there, I was visiting suppliers that were behind schedule, over budget, and
Mm,
trying to see what's going on. And so
okay.
I got to see a lot of suppliers from big shops to like your Aerojets and down smaller shops, within
Yeah.
within the LA area, and in like Tennessee, Nashville area, Alabama.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So my wife's cousin reached out to me and knew somebody from their church that was wanting to sell their business, and he had mentioned it and uh, thought of thought that I would, might be interested. And the funny thing is, I wasn't. I was so engrossed in what I was doing. I was loving it, and I never really. It wasn't just something I was looking at. You know, I uh, I didn't mention in the past that I wanted to. I had a family member who had a hardware store, like an Ace hardware store out in West. 'Cause I grew up in West Texas. That
Okay.
I'd love that because I'd have the best hardware store out in West Texas. And we came down. I came down to visit, called the owner, um, and came down to visit the shop and started looking around. And I saw that they had they were doing they had some good some good clients, and I thought that it was something that we can make a go of it. So
Okay.
we um, my wife and myself we put a like we put a business plan together. What are we going to do for 5 years, 10 years? But, we did that. We actually put a lot of work into that, and um, we reviewed the financials, put the business plan together, and we
Hmm.
we cashed in everything, Paul. Like, retire,
Really?
401k, everything. We put everything into the
Wow.
business, and oh, we ended up taking over, and that was, you learn a lot, right? You learn a lot when you do that. Just the financial aspect, what you think you're looking for, and but yeah, it was I don't know what it was. Something just clicks in you. I wasn't looking for it. The offer came across the table, and like I said, I don't know, just something inside clicked and said, what, let's do this.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. What a defining moment, right? Say yes or no, and or keep doing your existing job that you sounds like you enjoyed quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
you're in the corporate world, and it was fine. I left a lot of friends, a great management structure, you know,
mhm.
and come out and those early days, man, I
Mhm.
almost wish I never did it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure. Well, maybe that's a good, next, segue. So once you walked in the door the day after signing or however that worked and you realized this is now mine,
Yeah,
it gets very real very quick.
yeah, absolutely.
How how were those first few months, as you know, you can only know so much in due diligence, and then once you're actually there, you're like start seeing the reality of everything. Were there some things that shocked you, or pleasantly surprised, or like, whoa, this is just more than I thought it was going to be in terms of just what it takes? Share those initial impressions.
Um, well, yeah, my initial impressions, once I was in the driver's seat, I knew I needed to change the business,
Hmm.
um, almost immediately. That was the reality. We, there was just a lot of things that needed to change from, people wearing like PPE, uh, maintenance on equipment. Uh,
Hmm.
but the most thing was I was, in the driver's seat, I was getting calls from our customers, "Hey, where are my parts? You guys shipped, and
Right.
what's the tracking? Where's the tracking information?" And so, I would say we bought the business in May of 2017, and so that's June. I think by July, I has already reached out to you guys, you know?
Okay.
So
So no ERP in place, and
we had E2 in place.
oh, okay, okay,
Yeah,
I had
yeah,
forgotten that. Yeah,
We had E2 in place, but
and
I'd reached out to you guys. I actually found out from you guys from our good friend, Keith over at GBF.
oh yeah, good old Keith.
Yeah,
Um,
and
Now, was it also just like everything was revolved around the previous owner? Like he was just like spoken hub, all decisions, everything, or was there already some other leadership that really helped run things it's so common to have small businesses like that. So, like 10 people at the time or so when you bought it? Is that
Yeah,
about right?
about 10, yeah.
Okay. What was that like?
The owner handled, quoting, estimating.
Mhm.
They had a
Yep.
general manager in place as well. There a lot of knowledge there. Uh,
Mhm.
and we had, what I would call, unicorn employees, some really knowledgeable employees that had been around for years that knew
Mm.
everything. Um, and, we had one I think of in the welding side of, Greg, Benedict.
Mm.
He was, he was known, I mean, throughout our industry. We had so he had all this, he had, just a what do you call it, this volume of knowledge, right?
Mhm. So valuable.
And then on the assembly side, we had a gentleman, Mark Rice, who had stayed with us, also had a lot of knowledge, but who's, since passed away,
Mm.
you know, and we had a Marine that, um, who retired, came back, and he's still with us to this day.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh, wow, that's
yeah,
cool.
Cal Wadsworth. So he's like our he's our master machinist. Think about it. We have a machinist here with over 45 years experience. And
That's amazing.
and so we and he's teaching people, so that's fantastic. But yeah, so we had these key people, and they were really important on keeping things going. So
Absolutely.
we really, worked with, well, they helped us kind of, set the plan because a lot of them were obviously near retirement, you know?
Mhm.
So
Right.
they helped us create that, helped us, pass some of that knowledge down.
Okay. So going back to just 2 or 3 months in, you decided you needed something different than E2. Can you just elaborate on why that was? What what wasn't working about it?
Um, yeah, it just the there wasn't a lot of, organization to it, and it seemed really, dated.
Mhm.
It it was just that the interface was, it was just wonky.
Mm,
And
mhm.
I came from an SAP environment, you know,
That's a big system.
so seeing E2, I mean, it was good. They had something, right? But it just wasn't. It just didn't fall in line with, if with our vision of where we were going to grow with. We needed a new platform, something that can grow with us, something that we can utilize, and that's where, that's what we set out to look for. We were looking, for different systems. We were thinking of creating our own system, like
Mhm.
with the, Dynamics off, I think it was like 365 or something, Office
Right.
or whatever it was, Microsoft 365. We spent a lot of time looking at that and talking
Mhm.
and getting some modules and together. Um,
Sure.
but and then we came across you guys.
And what was it about ProShop that, attracted you to it?
Um, you know, it was really, well, I mean, you guys, the people, the people at ProShop that we interacted with, um, was the key point. Uh,
Mhm.
you want to be in business with people that you enjoy working with.
Mhm.
So, but the but but what we liked about what ProShop was offering was, I guess you guys use, I don't know if still use a term, but you call it like an ecosystem, right? Where everything
Mhm.
it's not just the ERP side of the house, but it's the quality side of the house too, that binds it together.
Mhm.
Um, and the fact that we were able to create these bills of material within ProShop really left an impression with us, because we were doing assemblies back then as well, and so that
Yep.
was a really key factor for us.
Mhm. And having everything sort of tie together with material certs and assembly instructions and bombs and just have it all kinda
Right.
seamlessly
Yeah.
work. Yeah. Okay. Well, I just looked it up while you were talking. You signed up in September of 2017, and you were client number 20,
There you go.
um, from day one. So you were a top 20 ProShop user,
Yeah.
ProShop client. So thank you for that that early trust as quite honestly pretty young ourselves. We'd only sort of been publicly selling it for about 2 years, um, or I guess probably a year and a half by the time we started talking. But but yeah, that was that was many years ago now. We're very different, and you are a much bigger company than you once were then too. So that's cool. Um, so you probably were then trained by like Kelsey or Brian or one of the real early guys.
Brian came down with his ruler or his stretch out ruler and started, yeah. So,
Okay. Well, Brian is still with us today, just awesome team member, and of course, and a very early employee at ProCNC way back in the day from the late 90s. So just to date ourselves a little bit. But that's cool. Not many people can say they had Brian as their trainer. Um, and then, so what, yeah, once you kind of got up to speed, started running jobs, like tell us a little bit about what changed, how it got better, getting rid of the paper travelers, whatever was sort of, m- interesting or significant about that change.
um, so, yeah, when we started planning, our well, first was trying to convince everybody that ProShop was a better way to
Mm,
go, and
sure,
all the
sure.
employees kind of just a natural when you change something, uh, everybody sees the flaws in it.
Right. Yeah.
And uh, so what we did, um, I guess pretty s- pretty quickly uh, after adopting it was we hired a lot of our employees' kids to come in on the weekends, and, and we did a lot of data entry. We realized
Okay.
that pro shop really isn't good unless you have data in it.
For sure.
So we started building all of our fasteners or cots,
Mm-hmm.
cots bass. That's what we call
Yep.
cots bass is our largest um, our
Category
largest
of cots,
of
I'm sure.
I guess I don't know what you call it. Well, our largest segment
Mm-hmm.
there because we have so many items in inventory,
Mm-hmm.
um, and so we started building all of that up, and that took a while.
Okay.
But
And then
we started to do. I know we did started putting material, and we're starting to realize, so how we would build things to the shop is we had all this material in boxes. Think of sheet metal in boxes, and when you would quote, we wouldn't have we had a paper sheet of all the material we had in stock, and if somebody didn't X it out correctly, you
mm,
either assume you had it or you didn't have it, so it could go either way. But that was some of the things that we noticed right off the bat. Like, okay, we have material. We have a record. We have 6061, 125 thick,
right.
whatever spec, B209 or whatever. And we have it and it's a half a sheet. Okay, we can run. The other thing too is you have costs, right? If you bought it and
Sure.
in the system, you had that costing data. So, which is great. So that once we started building that, then we realized, oh, we were able to run or move a lot faster.
Mm,
But,
okay.
but we had to build the uh, the data for it,
Sure.
or input the data into the system.
And then take those inventory COTS items and then start building them into your routers, your estimates,
Right.
your part levels.
Yeah.
So you, yeah, know what you're pulling to make the parts and then what the manufacturing process is.
Yes, and then of course naturally what comes with that, is organization, right? Where are you putting your material and where are you storing, partially finished, finished or partially finished products. So we
Hmm.
started. Then you realize your next problem is you need to start having better organization for all your stuff because
Mm,
um, and so we've gone through a lot of iterations of that since over the past 9 years.
yeah.
And continue this weekend. We got folks coming in to do organization, and we have interns now. They come in over the summer, and they did a project on
Nice.
that, and organizing, continue to organize material.
Hmm.
That's actually become one of our sort of like rapid reaction areas where we're able to we try not to store material, but at least we know what we have, and our customers,
Sure.
we can turn things around, at least
Yeah.
try to turn things around as quickly as possible, you know?
Right. Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. There is that physical aspect to kind of the digital backbone, that runs through the shop. I don't know if you'd use that term backbone. Many clients do, but the physical needs to kind of match it, right?
Yeah,
You have a storage system for where you store materials and hardware and inserts, and you have the operations that flow to different work centers, and they have their work center ID numbers that should be probably labeled, and then yeah, flowing all the way through. So there is some organization that physically needs to happen to help everything work smoothly together.
yeah, you do. One of the hard things for us is understanding, ProShop and how, um, you know, how you guys built it. I guess, you guys, um, built it in a certain way, and we weren't used to a lot of your terminology or how the structure.
Oh, compared to like E2 lingo or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah, just how it worked, and so
Yeah.
so that took a lot of getting used to. Once you pass that, it's, you learn how to operate in the new environment.
Yeah, I do understand that back in the day, or even still currently, E2 Job Bus Squared has a very different kind of architecture. There's not an idea of an estimate plan and a quote. That estimate then flows to the part, which then spawns the work order. I don't know, it's different. But but yeah, sometimes it takes a minute to just understand the structure. But that structure, quite honestly, was designed in the early 2000s by Matt and Kelsey, my co-founders here today. Um, and it's turned out to be just an incredibly robust structure for the data that allows things like archiving your estimates, so you can always know what the historical pricing was based on, and same thing with your part numbers, so you can go look back at the live requirements at the time when you ran a work
Yeah,
order, and
yeah.
see what the configuration was with work instructions and BOM items and operations, and yeah, I don't think we talk enough about that, about the power of that, but it's an interesting, for data scientists, it's interesting
Yeah.
to think about the architecture and how that relates to the physical world. So, what's common with older systems like you came from is that there's also lots of spreadsheets and other little systems for managing things. Is that the case? You guys also had just a bunch of additional tools and spreadsheets and whiteboards and things like that to organize stuff?
We did. We had a lot of, other ways of trying to figure out, what jobs are
Hmm.
priorities for the day or for the week. And
Hmm.
we we moved away from a lot of those.
Hmm.
We we you well, I mean, we're not totally done with Excel. I mean, we'll extract data from
Oh,
ProShop,
sure.
and to use
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
But it's still a powerful tool. But
Absolutely.
we really put a lot of once we figured out how to really, utilize it, w
Hmm.
you know, we really focused on, like, for example, if you're in a work center, to look at your work queue, scheduled work, queue to work
Yep.
before. uh, we're not 100% completely good at that, but I tell you what we are good at is each work cell's completing the job and moving it to the next one.
Hmm.
And so what I think what's, you know, a good component is, people are talking to each other on the floor, say, "Hey, this job's queued up to you." And so they'll pull it in and they see it. But or maybe I take that back. We are pretty good at the scheduled work and queued work. Uh,
Okay.
so we're because nothing moves forward. Better yet, we don't ship unless all the operations are closed, you know?
That's good hygiene right
And
there.
yeah,
Yeah.
right, right. And so we got some safeguards in that. And counting is important, you know,
Yes, it
counting's
is.
fundamental. And when, and myself, I'm in there, we'll run a job, 500 parts or whatever, and then you start getting fancy. Your customer's like, "Hey, peel 20 off, because we want 20 delivered
Early.
early."
Yeah.
And, 20 becomes 21, and then becomes 18, and then it becomes 24. I'm like, "Hey, what's going on, guys?" You know? Oh,
I know we've battled that at our own shop, and I think like machinists are smart people, but their ability to count accurately, just don't get me started on it. So,
yeah, yeah,
that's why we forever, and you may have seen this change over the last few years. We always had the updated total. Um, as opposed to how many parts did you just make to add to the total?
yeah.
Because then you get math errors adding up. So, but neither is completely flawless.
Yeah, we've changed that title to, total order, total, you know what I mean? With back, to
Yep.
match the customer, and then we're trying to figure out, okay, so what do we do with the setup piece that's good, you know?
Yeah.
What do we
Sure.
do with the setup piece that's bad? Does that count against you, you know?
Yeah. For sure. That's funny. That's funny. Um. So, uh, once I'd love to talk just a little bit more about once you got people's buy-in, on the shop floor. Like, what did that take? Did it really take just convincing them that, like, this is what we're doing, so like it or not, this is gonna be the new reality? Or was it more of like, here's why it's important to the company and to you, and, and hopefully they, and I know you have triple the employees now, so it's a very different looking business, but, hopefully they started to recognize that actually it was like, they didn't like chasing paper travelers and not understanding what they're supposed to be working on or doing, and so did they eventually come around to like, "Yeah, actually, this is actually helping us?"
Um, they did come around. They have come around. That's yeah, those days are long gone. This is, ProShop is the way it is now.
Mhm.
But the w and one caveat, we still use paper. We still have the travelers to go, they follow the parts, but they're not that important anymore, but they're there to, like,
Just a reference for
more, yeah,
traceability.
more for identification, and the draw we
Absolutely, sure.
and we still, physically stamp a drawing to go with the parts,
Mhm,
but it's not, whereas the travel, as it would go through the floor, it would get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger with the data that goes with it.
mhm, yep,
A lot of that stuff isn't it's not that important anymore. A lot of it's in the work order or the part file.
got it.
Um,
Of
but
course. Yeah, that
um,
makes sense.
but one thing we did, we went through several iterations of, was that we didn't realize the um, for every employee you need to have a workstation, you know.
Mm,
And
mhm,
so we went through that growth of having to put those work cells out on the floor so that people can have, access to it was actually important. People's behaviors and
mhm,
sharing is some folks are okay with it, but even like today, we're deploying another four work cells to the
mhm,
floor, um, because sometimes even people you want to work side by side, like a setter, want maybe if then the programmer, while they're doing the integration and setup, they want to work side by side.
mhm,
So that's something we're seeing, and so, uh, n yeah, so that transition, it just, as p what we did was we made all that information in there available. Like, for example, if there was a spec, it was tied in there, so they wanted to
right.
get into that part file, or the links, so they can get the
Mhm,
information.
mm,
So we really put a lot of that made that documentation available, so that so
mhm.
so that it's there. And I think that's what really won people over,
Okay. So did they feel like they were flying a little blind before and not having
Yeah.
stuff that was kind of important to them?
Well, I mean, yeah, they're just the specs weren't readily available in the previous system.
Right.
So you had the guy in his office who had, like my shelf back here, had the folder with all the specs, and where to get that data. So now we were giving that information to the masses, sort of, so to speak, right? Making it more readily
Mhm.
available. Uh, but And I think that's what really would helped a lot of people, start to transition, but
Got
but
it.
again, it took our engineers a lot of effort to put those hot links into
Yeah.
into the planning, and figure out, how to do it correctly.
Sure. Do you feel like once people have that information, they can move more confidently or more quickly through the setup tasks or the jobs they're doing out on the floor? Does it facilitate faster throughput?
Absolutely, yeah, for sure, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I also I program for I've been in each of the technology areas. I don't weld
Mhm.
though, but
Okay.
you know, but I had to immerse myself in the programming side of the house, and so we spent a lot of time in run description. You know,
Mm-hmm.
run description is incredibly powerful for us because that's your essentially your setup sheet, right? With on steroids.
Hmm. Yeah.
So run description, snag it, pictures, text, we love it. So run
Mm.
description allows us to tie it all together. And
Okay.
sequence details also is very important to us. We use that. We use RTAs, all the tools religiously.
Wow, that's
There's
fantastic.
not a tool. There's not a tool on the floor that doesn't have an ID on it.
That's amazing. That's awesome, Andrew. I love to hear that. And so has maybe share a little bit what that's translated into in terms of like setup times or even scrap level or just general throughput, when and I'll add a little more context to that. There's some fundamental things that we think are critical, going back to the digital and physical aspect, like how you organize your tools, how you organize fixtures, what information you provide to people for jobs, how much of that setup work is taken external and kitting, like the pre-processing checklist. I don't know if you use that,
We do.
but
We do.
okay, perfect. So then, when you can provide all that in a really structured way, like people can cut setup times like in half just because they're doing less walking around the shop and looking for things and gauges and tools and material
Oh
and the
yeah.
machine is sitting there idle while you're doing all that. So maybe just share a little bit about how that part of the business changed for you guys.
Yeah. I'll talk about pre-processing checklists. So pre-processing checklist goes part of that obviously goes to inspection. It's inspection team so they can make sure we have all the thread gauges, ring gauges, whatever you need.
Hmm.
And it it it's invaluable because we get weird threads. Not just your UNCs, but we'll get like a UNJ or whatever, UNJC, UNJF,
Yeah.
and oh, guess what? We don't have that, and so we have to go order that, and that takes that's not usually readily available,
Hmm.
especially on some of those weird thread forms.
Sure.
And what I mean is it's not MSC, Las Vegas, next day delivery. We're talking 3 to 4 weeks out. Well, if we don't do that at pre-processing, and your machinist or whoever's making, say a machine part, putting in that thread form, when they need to inspect it, it's too late.
Right.
And
You're
that's where people
sitting
are
there. You're
right,
sitting
and
there
that's what
down for a couple of weeks.
right, and so that's where people are like, oh my god, that's why pre-processing checklist is so important. And so we started looking at all these checklist parts and saying, "Okay, we'll back it up." We'll even go prior to pre-processing checklist is contract review, right? So do we have all the specs? Do we even know what we're doing here, right? Uh, and so that first part is yes, yeah, we're working on titanium, and do we understand what we're doing with it? Is it
Hmm.
even available? So, and I mean that, uh, facetiously, but I'm just saying, yeah, supply whoever's gonna buy it, like, well, they're gonna say, "Yeah, actually, that's been out of stock for a while," or you know what I mean? They have to do
Hmm.
their due diligence, right? Or like tungsten, right?
Sure.
Tungsten, "Hey, there's tungsten's not available for 8 weeks. We can't go on this." We can let our customer know at that point that,
Hmm.
first off, you're not gonna be able to meet their delivery date.
Yeah.
So then pre-processing checklist is pretty important. Even at the end, our shipping team sees that and says, "Oh, hey, I need a special box," right? So I got to
Love
order
it.
these special boxes because we've had that situation happen where we didn't have the special box needed to ship these parts again. And so you learn the if we go into CNC a little bit,
Hmm.
um, every tool is has its label,
Yep.
like for before our folks were using, a quarter inch end mill, quarter inch ML, flat or right.
Mhm.
And what does that mean? Right.
Yeah. I love it.
So it doesn't mean anything actually, because what material are you cutting? You know, so we assigned. So I'll give you an example. All your flats are A's, the A category. Based, I think that's just default in ProShop, but it's
Mhm.
A and ProShop. But we also use the material, the workpiece that it's designed for cutting, and
Nice.
we use the ISO codes for that. So PMK NS, so they'll be able to, okay, so I have my tool, say A163, and it is category N, which is for material. I mean, aluminum, right?
Mhm.
The guys are
Mhm.
trained, they know that. So this tool is for aluminum.
That's
And
awesome.
and then that tool also has an RTA tied to it.
Right.
So when you're getting into for 3 axis guys, maybe you don't care. But when you're doing 5 axis, your RTA is incredibly important. So
Mhm.
one tool can be a part of, maybe 4 different RTAs depending on what we're doing.
Of course.
And that RTA needs to be built according to how the tool setup sheet is, as put out by us free. But when you're on the floor, here's the real kicker: when you're on the floor and you got that tool, and you go into ProShop, you know exactly where it is if you need a replacement if it wears out.
Mhm.
Um, and so all that's kind of tied together. So our floor matches, like I said, the digital side of the house well, the digital ecosystem. Um, and
Amazing.
yeah, and the RTA. If the guy's building an RTA and it's a mill turn type RTAs are for us are everything, right?
Mhm.
Not just rotating, but
Yep.
for mill turn tools. So mill turn tools have multiple parts to it, right? Um, and we created a whole subfamily of parts in RTAs. This guy goes, your one piece interfaces with the machine, and then you have a next part, and then a next part goes on that.
Mhm.
Well, each of those, our guys have made boo-boos where they stripped a bolt or, broken something. But if you go to that item, you can find the hardware, and then we link that to our manufacturer's website so
Oh,
we can get that
beautiful.
information.
Beautiful. Gosh, you're just the whole ecosystem. You really are doing it front to back. That's awesome.
Yeah,
That is amazing. Um, so when you no longer have a machinist realizing that you need a UNFJ thread gauge and it's 2 weeks out to get one, I imagine those were scenarios you faced years ago
absolutely.
before.
Yeah. Yeah, so we're
And
okay, move that order to the side, pull the next one in, rush, rush, rush,
yeah,
rush, right? And your setup and teardown guys are they just they're 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 not happy, you know?
yeah, no, yeah, no machinist likes that scenario.
Right, nobody does,
So,
and so I try to put myself in those shoes too, Paul, you know? And I get it, and I'm like, I feel their pain, you know? I feel their
hmm,
pain when we have to when, the general manager or production manager comes out and says, "Hey, we gotta switch, we're going this way now." It just it kills them because sometimes those setups, take 8 hours or whatever it might be, if it's something
right,
crazy, and I'm just exaggerating, but it's their time,
sure, sure.
and nobody wants.
So maybe looking at it from the perspective as of that Marine that's now back with
Yeah.
you, has all that experience and was there pre-Pro Shop in the old days. Um, like what would they say is the difference on the floor in terms of organization or stress level or chaos or whatever?
Um, things are available. He can go find tools when he needs them, you know? So one thing we found is your more experienced machinist can look at a tool and say, "Yeah, that's for aluminum," or "This is, ALTIN," or, a
Yeah.
coating, and they can tell, but a lot of the new stuff, like with Kennametal and Sandvik, they have their own proprietary stuff, and so you can't rely on what it looks like on the color anymore, you know?
Mm,
And I think that's what our older guys are starting to realize, like, "Oh, yeah," he's like, "I've only seen, PVD coating," so all these new, like, KCU 15s, all that stuff's all new stuff, so or relatively new. Um, and so we just try to demystify that and say, material, and I think that's what's appreciated. So I'm seeing the uh, our older guy, our more experienced guy, he's using some of the newer tools,
Hmm.
and able to
Right.
use them effectively because speeds and feeds are available to him. Before they were just using, um, you know, w- uh, you know, pocket reference guides, which are good, but sometimes they're not.
Mm.
You want to use
So,
you want to have access to the manufacturers sites. And sometimes those you gotta be careful with, but,
totally, totally. So do you link those right in the tool table
we
for
do.
each tool?
Yeah, each tool, as we gather the speeds and feeds for it, that snapshot gets copied to the tool, but we also save it as a process. We use a spree so that tool will have its own process. Like, if you're
Mm,
pocketing, it'll have that tool and that name for what you're doing, so it's saved, so we're able to reuse.
that's so good, man. So, from your perspective, not having to do all those crazy, throw this job to the side, let's do the next one and wait for the gauge or whatever. Like, has that translated into just greater throughput and revenue from the same people and machines?
It has, yeah, it has. We were able to we were able to get out, um, um, a lot. Our throughputs we're able to increase it, significantly.
Do you have any guess on the percentage?
Of what?
Just throughput. If you had a snapshot of the same people, same machines, obviously you've grown your people immensely, and I'm sure you've added more machines.
Yeah,
Um,
well,
so that's that variable. But if you had 10 people, 10 machines, like in the old way versus the new way, what would that increase be
well,
in?
um, I would say with the same amount of people, we were able to, increase revenue, one year by 1,000,000 and the next year by 2,000,000
Wow.
with no
What is
with
that as a percentage? I don't know what revenue you were doing originally, but
so about, 20%.
20% more with the same people.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. That's pretty cool. That's awesome.
I mean,
Um,
it's real. I mean, yeah,
yeah,
it's real. It's just now we're that's just a single shift. So
right. Have you gone to multiple shifts?
we haven't
Okay.
we haven't figured that out yet.
It's hard. It's hard to get a critical mass of enough people that have the skill sets and the interest in that off shift to move there. But
We have
uh,
we did we changed to 410s this year. Most of our
oh,
customers,
nice,
yeah, most of our
nice.
customers are 410s, so we shifted to 410s.
Hmm.
Um, and then now we're going to look at adding a second shift as well.
Would it be nighttime or weekend, like 312s on the weekend?
You know what? I don't know. We have folks that feel like the 4s, like their weekends are too long, and others that no.
Too long.
Yeah.
What?
So, yeah, it's funny, it's a different generation. Your 40 to 50-year-olds, they feel like it's too long, and the younger crew, they're out of here Thursday. And
That is
yeah,
funny.
they just
So, do you use Friday for like overtime if you're really busy or need to get something out?
yeah, we do that. So, you know, the the word expedite comes up a lot, and we all are aware of that.
Yep. Yep.
We're real careful with that, but I'm seeing that if we can tell our customers, "Hey, expedites are available," and we're doing them like today, we're this weekend, Friday and Saturday, we're doing it.
Hmm. So, does that allow you to sell something at a premium and
Yeah, it
have
does.
greater margins on that job? That's nice. Okay. Very good. Um, oh gosh, what was the next? I had a segue that was just on the tip of my tongue. Oh, your quality and your AS. So, did the company have AS9100 when you bought it?
It did.
Okay, so they'd done that a while ago. And when did you transition that to kind of the ProShop digital QMS
Oh, right off the bat.
right off the bat?
Yeah,
Okay.
we got
So,
the flying start package, and
oh, nice. Yep.
yeah,
Yep. Okay. And so your next audit the year after you bought it would have, or the year after you got ProShop would have been in ProShop for that audit.
yeah, it was.
Okay. And then how did that I mean, you probably didn't do the audits in the old system maybe, so you may not have as much context, but how did the audits go? And then furthermore, with having customers come and showing them doing, you know, audits with your customers for approved vendor list or whatever, how has the feedback been from your customers about the system you're using?
Uh, it's always been it's been positive. It's always been, very positive. Uh, I think the biggest feedback from the auditors are that, the auditors are sometimes scheduled to be, here for, whatever, however long, 2, 3 days,
Mhm.
whatever, and they're able to get through, get through it a lot quicker.
Mhm.
The information is more readily available. Things are they can see who's got training, who's trained, who's not trained, and so forth, or any of the artifacts that they're looking for, and then they can pick and you know they'll randomly pick, show me material cert for this order, go back and we have all that information. And that's been I think that's been key. That's one of the things I guess one of the things that is 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 a very strong part of ProShop
Mhm.
is that everything's tied in. That's the other thing. You have to have a lot of we scanners, right? PDF scanners for sure.
Yeah, when you get those documents from your vendors, you
Yeah,
scan them immediately.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing, too. So now we had one poor multi-function printer system that it is long gone. So in fact, we just put three, and we have three Xerox centers now, and
Oh, wow.
yeah, because
Just mostly for scanning,
we're
and then
yeah,
just
it's
guess
all yeah,
printing at the very end for packing slips and cert
packing slips.
packages?
Yeah, the paper packs are still big when we are,
Uh-huh.
we're still selling books, with the
Yeah,
parts. But that's another thing that we didn't realize. But yeah, you have to scan all this stuff, and you got to get it in there.
right,
You got to get it in there fast too. Is is
right.
is as soon as it comes in. So yeah, we do that. So we have like full inspection receiving, but it'll come in but all of that is getting
Scan.
scanned. And that's
So
the thing that, from the auditor's point of view, it's been really helpful. Um,
mhm,
going through NADCAP really helped us in AS9100 and the rest of our process, training people. We have a lot of internal people trained in internal auditing now.
mhm. Mm,
Um,
nice.
but I think that's, you can't, I think ProShop made it part of the system, and you can embrace it or fight it. So,
Mhm,
but embracing is the harder part because you gotta live this stuff. You can't fake it, you know?
mhm,
And so, oh, and once you put it all in place with ProShop, and what I'm talking about are, employees, the training,
mhm.
certain, whatever, um, like, levels you have, that you just can't hide that. You gotta do that. That's what I meant. You gotta do the training. You gotta have the tasks. You gotta have the 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 task and the assigned to the people and the training to support each one of them
Yeah, and their company positions
and
and
the company positions and so forth. So and that's hard too because you're like, okay, you bring in a new hire, you're like, okay, I'm gonna sit with you for an hour and you're trained, and that's not really the right way to do it. But you got to go. ProShop doesn't allow you to do that because you got to, yeah, oh, there's written stuff we got to go through, and there's got to be
mhm,
an artifact in the to show that you've trained and you got to sign it as a trainer, you know.
right. I mean, that's what the standard wants you to do, so you're not,
Yeah.
cheating the system, so, yeah, I guess it does kinda hold your feet to the fire a little bit in that
Y
regard.
Yeah, but for that part, that part's been good, and, it actually is, it's no surprise, right? It's a selling point for our customers. We'll bring our customers in, we'll show them a bill of material, a part that's got, over, 200 to 300 items in it, and we're able to show everything on it, all the what the pieces look like, and the routings for them. We're able to do that, and that's just like that's, that, our cus some of our customers from, um for most some of our primes, they're like, "Yeah, your system's better than our system," you know?
Yes,
And
I've heard that.
it's the visuals that that are that's available, but you gotta build that, you gotta build all
Right. Yeah, the pictures and stuff. Yeah,
yeah.
pictures of the parts. Well, I love hearing that. Do you feel like that's instilled more confidence in dynamic fabrication as a vendor to them that they start preferring you for work or give you more work or
Yeah, yeah, so I guess what we do special we do a lot of, development. We get a
Mhm.
well, Rev Dash, right? We get a lot of Rev Dash projects,
Yeah, right.
um, and then we turn those into production. And
Okay.
we've had to hire, we also had to hire the staff to support that Rev Dash because Rev Dash is hard. It's a hard game to play,
Mhm.
because a lot of landmines, right?
Mhm.
So you gotta be able to get through that and then, figure out I guess another term is new product introduction, right?
Yeah, NPI. Yep.
Yeah, work all the kinks out and then get it going.
Has that been a good vehicle for getting longer term production contracts though once you get through that work?
It is, it's kind of been our secret sauce, because now you know how to do it, and now you can find ways to make it more so we're doing the opposite, right? So it costs a certain thing, we're able to drop the price down, right?
Mm.
And that's
Of that NPI work, you mean?
N of the
Or as you go to production?
of the yeah, of the, part price, right? So we're able to
Right.
provide that value, good parts, lower price, and 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 still make good profit on them.
Do you feel like ProShop's enabled you to do that better than you could have done it back in the E2 days?
Absolutely, yeah, for sure.
That's awesome. Um, do you also, when we talk about paper travelers, paper setup sheets, especially in an NPI, Rev Dash environment, it's so dynamic, right? They're changing revs all the time. They're changing dates. They're changing quantities. They're, you know, at least that was my experience at Pro CNC. So I can't imagine working in that environment with everything paper based and having to go find the travelers, get rid of the drawing, mark it up, swap it out for the new rev, make sure everyone's on the same page and not doing stuff that's wrong. Do you feel like that's being paperless facilitates that type of really dynamic work?
It does because you can make changes, live to the work order, and it's what, whoever like, if I'm a planner right now or a programmer role and I'm working with, a setter or that's our term is, somebody a setter or once the setter's done as the runner takes over,
Yeah.
and you're feeding information to them, it's alive. We use Teams so we can update, hey, work order's been updated, the new model's in there, you know, and
Nice.
you can change things on the fly. And that
That's
part's good,
awesome.
especially um, when we're, proving out new processes.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Of course. That's awesome. Do you just maybe a follow up on that? When you have and I'm thinking about the way we used to run our shop a long time ago. We had our production area that was very well documented, locked down. We had our prototype department where they're doing all these like one offs and quick turn things. Do you separate the machines and the people that do that, or are you blending it?
Yeah,
And
we haven't done that. And
okay, so you're using the same equipment and people, just doing that NPI work.
right, same equipment, same people, still.
Okay,
And but yeah, that's a good. We've been thinking about that. We because that there there's a different mindset
for sure.
that goes into each area. And but that's an area we need to work on.
Well, candidly, that was where I was actually getting to.
Yeah.
It's the mindset and it's how you use ProShop in each way, right? And our prototype guys, they would take some pictures of the setup, they would do some basic documentation, but if we weren't confident that it was coming back again, there's no point in documenting that thing to the nth degree with run descriptions and
Right.
setup,
Yeah.
but if you know it's coming, you're like, yeah, you're going to do these 5 and then we have 100 or 1,000 after that, then that changes the mindset of, all right, how much documentation do we put into it? So it's right sized for the investment that makes sense.
yeah, it allows you to work in either one of those environments, but yeah, you're absolutely right. Um, I mean, there's some basic things you do want. We always say it's not gonna come back, right? Or you might not know. Um,
Yeah.
but what could happen, though, is you have something similar, and that's where you want to have at least something, documented, at least the sequence details, right?
Hmm.
That doesn't cost you much,
Right.
because you gotta pick tools to do
Yeah. And
it. And then I'm just particularly talking about CNC area, but,
yeah.
um, you gotta pick your tools for that, so because that tells you, uh, that gives you a wealth of information.
Yeah.
And I
And
don't
it's
think
pretty
we
spitting it out anyway. So,
you
you,
know, if you don't have se here's another tidbit for everyone, I guess. If sequence details, RTA, that tells you that's your link to the past, right? Because that tells you all the jobs that use that RTA.
hmm
And it's important, to do that, and I think that's a hidden secret within sequence details, is that it'll tell you all the parts that use this job, and not only that, you can go back in history and say, "Oh, how did I do it back then?" or "How was it done back then?" And it takes you back, you know?
mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a really insightful comment. It's true. Yeah, you can just go look at any job, any part number, and any work order that ran those tools, and look at what your setup was.
And that's why
Um,
that's why, I said, we actually, those gotta be in there before you go live. Um, but yeah, sometimes like if it's a production job for us are like I, we debate it. It's 5 or more or 10 or more, some number.
sure.
But because if you're doing tight tolerances, doing 2 tight tolerance parts that are okay, but doing 10 tight tolerance parts, there's a world of a difference, depending on the
Hmm.
material because you can have tool wear.
Yeah.
So, um, and your approach is going to be different. You
Hmm.
might have some in cycle, in process probing, for measuring wear,
Sure.
offsets or whatever. Uh, so but you might not want to have it fully documented on how to torque, and because there's stuff you want to figure out on low
Hmm.
volume. But when it gets to higher volume, oh yeah, you totally want to have it documented. I was just talking to another shop owner who worked in uh, uh, was it Ford? Yeah, I think it was Ford Defense,
Okay.
and they kind of had the same thing. These setup sheets. And I'm like, well, we got that in ProShop. We got a run description where you get exactly where you can put all of that information in.
Mm,
Down even torque, how to torque the vise, how to load it, how to set it, and so forth.
right. Well, that's awesome. So I want to go back to one thing you said, and we're needing to get close to the end here. We're getting close on our hour. Um, with you said you don't ship a job unless the work order is complete, everything's checked off.
Correct.
Are there other intermediate steps within the operations where, when the first article box turns green, when everything's good, or your setup complete box is checked and you're okay for production? Like, are there sort of gates that you've built in or that you really, utilize heavily to make sure that something is good before you proceed to the next step or to whatever's next?
Um, so okay, we'll run depending on the complexity of the part. Um,
Hmm.
well, but yeah, um, a lot of parts have fallen in this arena now. Where the material costs are higher now. Um,
Sure.
so what and if again, depending on number of runs, what we'll do is we'll run a w and what's coming to mind right now is you have a part that goes through several processes, right? So you can machine and weld, bring it back, and get final machining. A part like that that's got a lot of different steps that can affect um, the next step.
Hmm.
Um, we'll have like a first article complete right through op one, and then it's going to go to welding, and then it comes back off three. So we'll have checks along each one, where we can make that. You can make that. Also, you can make that business decision. Hey, this is the remaining steps are low risk, so we're going to proceed because the first article's good, and then The second one would probably, IPC, maybe, 20% of the dimensions or whatever.
Hmm.
And then, and you can assign that goodness to it and make that decision, and that's where ProShop allows you to put that information in.
Mm, okay. Do you feel like the ability to do that has saved, something that might move down the line less well vetted or checked that ends up being scrap at the end, but you didn't realize it was going to be a problem much earlier and you've
It
built some
has.
safety?
Yeah, absolutely. We had a nightmare situation, where we had, multi-process, multi-step, outside, heat treat and stuff. We had a whole job that, came to us at a loss, and I think
Mm.
it was I don't remember how much it was. I know it was very painful, and I'm talking like, you know, 100 like over $100,000 worth
Oh,
of
wow.
worth of at the end of the day, it was all scrapped. And that's a nightmare
Oh,
scenario,
gosh.
and not every a lot of people understand, have probably been in that situation, and
Hmm.
but
Oh, yeah.
but when you're, in my situation where you're new to this, you know, you do that once, right?
Right.
And that's where you put these processes in place to control that, to have those knowledge points where,
Hmm.
okay, we're at this point, you know, what did we learn? Then, do we accept the risk moving forward? And you can do that. You can
Hmm.
do that within ProShop really effectively.
Was that big scrap job, was that pre-Pro Shop or was that early days before you had built in all the tools and
Now,
the
it
systems?
was ProShop, but
Okay.
we didn't have that. We didn't put that, IPCs.
Right.
We didn't have that, and we used a discus. Put all that data in. And we
Mm-hmm.
didn't. We weren't capturing. We weren't capturing that data. Um,
And is that what drove you to fully implement, like,
it
you
did. It did.
first
Yeah,
articles and IPCs?
it did. Yeah. So we have a run rule where we're going to run a full first article. Like I said, depending,
Yeah.
but almost, I would say 99% of the time we do a full first article, all dimensions, before
Mhm.
committing to the production run.
Yeah. That's just yeah. I mean, no, I appreciate the nuance of you can decide how, rigid to be based on the value of the parts or the situation or the timeline, but it goes you have the full gamut from pretty loose to all the way locked down, and you get to decide.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Well, Andrew, maybe last question. Your business has obviously grown immensely. Triple the employees from when you bought it. Sounds like, uh, it's pretty much an entirely different business almost than what you bought. What would you say, um, if you had to imagine trying to do what you're doing today? If you hadn't decided to get ProShop, where would the business be at? What would it be like? Um, some people say I don't want to even imagine that, but what would you say to that question?
Yeah, that's a loaded question. Uh, but maybe not. I don't know. But w- Pro Shop is it's helped a lot. Helped shape a lot of our of how we operate. You know,
Mhm.
but it also takes, I think, the management structure to implement and embrace it and understand it. We
Absolutely.
our management team, when you implement ProShop, you have to have a change agent, right? So
Mhm.
that was
Yeah.
me at the beginning, and I had to learn all the aspects of ProShop. And so now I'm not in all the aspects of ProShop anymore. I don't,
Good for you.
I
Shouldn't
don't,
be.
I don't do a lot of. I'm not in a lot of the areas. I'm mostly in estimating and quoting. But as you pass that, you pass that information on to other people, and then they become the change agents for their area. Yeah, yeah, I don't know. It was good timing to come across ProShop. I think it was a good idea at the time, and I think it's a good idea today to continue with it.
Hmm.
because it's just, yeah, it would be hard to see, another, what else would be, uh, how would it be operating without it, you know?
Right.
Because
Right.
it kinda covers everything we need, you know?
I mean, you've outlined so many ways that you're using it, so many features and functions and modules that yeah, that's fairly complete. Um, okay, well, Andrew, thank you very much for taking this time to sit down and chat with me about it. Uh, like I said, it's been pretty neat to watch your growth over the last 9 years or so. I didn't quite realize, candidly, how deep you've gone on it, and it's just wonderful to hear that and see that and hear the impact, to reducing scrap or increasing throughput or
Yeah.
having your team have less chaos and enjoy their jobs maybe more on the shop floor. But yeah, thank you so much for sitting down with me today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. It's been a pretty fast hour, so that's pretty good.
Time does fly when you're having fun.
Yeah,
So
for
if
sure.
people want to learn more about dynamic fabrication, where would you direct them?
Yeah, to our website, yeah, dynamicfab.com, and then, we have our email there. It's, needfab@dynamicfab.com.
Oh, I like that email.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Needfab at dynamicfab.com. That is, yeah, there it is. That's fantastic. Awesome. All right, Andrew. Well, thank you again so much. Look forward to when I'm down in the LA area. And actually, in fact, later this year, we're doing one of our education events down there again. So it'd be great to see you and connect over a beer or something. So
Yeah, it'd be good. Yeah, it'd be good, and then see where we're going with CMMC this year in ProShop, so that's
yeah, so I don't know if you saw it, but just yesterday, we announced that we're on the track for getting our FedRAMP moderate equivalency by the end of Q2.
yeah.
So yeah, we're very excited about that, and
Yeah,
we
we're right
know
on
that.
yeah, we're right on the hills with that as well, so we're
Good.
so
Okay, awesome. Good
alright.
timing for that. All right, Andrew, thank you so much for today.
Okay,
Appreciate it.
Paul. Alright, thank you.